Hi there, Zamir for NerdTube. These are my thoughts and spoilers of the first 2 episodes of Season 2 of The Bad Batch. Spoils of War, Ruins of War. So, at the end of Season 1 with the anticlimactic escape from Camino episode, I wasn't really necessarily anticipating and looking forward to Bad Batch Season 2 because Season 1 ended so poorly. But I have to say that Season 2 has started off with a bang. But I will also say this, after watching Andor, which is a way more grounded, realistic version of Star Wars without necessarily the super frills and spills at every moment. Watching this version of Star Wars where it's edge of your seat, thrill ride stuff, close shaves on every encounter, it feels so different. And yet these two shows, Andor and Bad Batch, are in the same universe, but you wouldn't necessarily sync that with the way things are portrayed on screen. Nevertheless, this is kind of how Star Wars has always been, edge of your seat, thrill ride stuff. And so I had no problems getting back into the old swing of things watching this episode, especially as everything was executed so well. In this first episode, we see our Bad Batch doing what they do best, being mercenaries. In the post-Empire world, with their abilities, their skill set, the only thing they could ever be was mercs. And they're working for Sid still, the lizard green looking alien who's by my side. And we see them initially doing a heist on a land full of crab people, and after that we then see them going to do a heist where Count Dooku used to live. Also, Omega, she looks a little bit older as well, so I'm glad that they're obviously aging up her characters, even though initially she's supposed to be older than everybody else amongst the clones in the Bad Batch, because she was one of the first ones. That's why I think she's called Omega. Nevertheless, I think no longer being on Camino and probably not taking any sort of requirements to keep herself looking young is making her age now, which I very much appreciate as well. If we do get several seasons out of the show, I would like her to end up being maybe like a young teenage girl or something like that from being a kid initially. But she seems to also be somebody who can handle herself pretty well. And out of all the members of the Bad Batch, she also seems to be the one person who, in this particular first 2 episodes, was probably the one who got corrupted the most. And I also like that too, because it kind of shows you where our lads are, that even though there's money and wealth to be gained, they don't necessarily give a fuck about that as much as just staying alive and looking after each other, whilst Omega is very desperate to get this wealth, and this wealth obviously belongs to Count Dooku. He's got shitloads of money on his planet. Sid suggests that they do a heist, and just a fraction of that money will set them up for life, which is one of the reasons why Omega wants all this money so badly, so that they have to stop being mercenaries, because she kind of feels a bit guilty that a lot of these lads are being mercenaries because of her, which is in a way why she wants the money so badly. Now, we do get our group split up as well during the course of this first couple of episodes. Tech and Echo and Omega are in one group, and Hunter and Wrecker are in another group. And we get to know some of our characters a little bit more, some of the supporting cast a little bit more, because honestly, people like Tech in Season 1, he wasn't really fleshed out that much, in my opinion. We saw what, it was more to do with the rivalry between Hunter and Crosshair, so to speak. We got a lot of Wrecker, and even people like Echo, like he didn't get much much more fleshing out than what he got during the Clone Wars. I apologize for my birds. So seeing Tech and Echo get a bit more character development, Echo definitely, he comes across as like a number 2 of the gang, like the second in charge, because he is a proper soldier who was initially a clone, whilst everyone else were defected clones. So we see a little bit more of Echo. We get to understand a little bit more about Tech, and I very much like that. We also saw Wrecker as well getting a new weapon at some point during the course of this episode, and the sort of character that he is, he very much loves his weapon, stroking it. It's like some massive cannon he pulled off one of these droid ships, the droid ships that were, the clunker ships, so to speak. That was the word I was thinking of. And now that's become his own personal weapon. Lo and behold, as with a lot of heist films and all of that, they don't necessarily get the money that they need to change their lives, because if they did get the money, then the season would be over after 2 episodes. But there was a really cool moment that reminded me of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, because my birds, I do apologize, as Omega is trying to get all this money which they've had trapped in a container which they escaped from, which is now hanging off the edge of a cliff. She spills a lot of this money, and Echo's the only person there to try and help her. And Echo says, "Echo, let it go. Let the money go." And it kind of reminded me of that moment in Last Crusade where Henry Jones is telling Indiana Jones, regarding the Grail, let it go, and all of that. So, yeah, a bit of a callback to that, so to speak. I'm not sure if anyone else picked up on that. I definitely did, because I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. But lo and behold, our group have to escape the clones, because there's clones everywhere. It's still early in the Empire stage, so there's still lots of clones everywhere. Of course they do, with a little bit of a help of an old man who lives on this planet as well. But we also come across the bad guy who was in season 1. He was like the Imperial bad guy, and he basically assumed that the clones were dead. So when he found out, not the clones, the Bad Batch were dead. So when he found out from one of the clone lieutenants that the Bad Batch are still alive, he asked the clone lieutenant not to report this, because he reported that the Bad Batch were dead. The clone lieutenant said that I'm not going to give a falsified order, so the Imperial officer kills the clone lieutenant. Corruption everywhere in every rank. I very much love it. We'll see what happens now, because as far as the Empire is concerned, as far as the Emperor is concerned, Palpatine is concerned, that the Bad Batch are dead. So is eventually Palpatine going to find out that the Bad Batch are alive, and then he's going to punish the Imperial guy? Maybe he might promote him for being a sneaky so-and-so. Who knows? But yeah, first 2 episodes started off with an absolute bang. Very much enjoyed it. Can't wait for next week. This is an excellent show, and I recommend it. This is better than Clone Wars, without a doubt. This is much better than Clone Wars. Instead of having like stories going all over the fucking place and like some stories being in one season and then continuing in another season and all of that, we're just following this motley crew of guys who we very much appreciated, and they're unable to be corrupted. They will fight for each other. They have a code, all of that. I love it. This is cool. This is the dirty half dozen minus one, and I love it. I love these guys. These are badasses, and I can't wait to see what they get up to next. Anyway, let me know what you think of this show and season 2 so far. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Take care. Bye bye.